We're through the All-Star game circuit. Now we start the march to the combine. All the NFL head coaching jobs are now filled, but another college football job opened up. Draft guy Jimmy is going to join us tonight to talk about the Hula Bowl, the Commanders, and much more. All that coming up next on the Draft Countdown Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Draft Countdown Podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Bosors, joined as always by my co-host, Shane P. Hallam. Shane, 77 days, 22 hours, 58 minutes, 16 seconds away from the 2024 NFL Draft.
All-Star games are behind us. Now we start shifting our focus to the Combine here in a couple weeks. So the draft season is moving. We're moving along.
Yep, we sure are, and it's been a rough one. Oh, I'll say a rough one. It's been very busy, especially for me last week down here covering the game, and we were live 5 days in a row doing the podcast. So, but yeah, back to normal this week. You said getting ready for the combine, which is 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away, something like that. We'll be in full combine mode here. Not next week, start in 2 weeks. We're gonna have the Raz King himself, Kent Lee Platt's going to join us in a couple weeks, and as that's become an annual tradition here on the show, talking about that. But we remind you, if you're watching live tonight on YouTube or on Twitter or however, and you have a question, send it to us. Whichever way you're doing it, we'll answer it at the end of the show. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live each and every week. Well, let's start out the show tonight, Shane, as we have, and we'll only have to do this one more time, but we didn't really talk about it last week, but the conference championship games are over, so 2 more draft spots have been filled. The Detroit Lions, after blowing a huge halftime lead to the 49ers, sorry, Brad, they will be picking 29th, and the Baltimore Ravens will be picking 30th after their loss to the Chiefs.
Yeah, tough for those two teams. So we'll see how they bounce back. I think it's an important draft. Both the Lions and the Ravens both have some holes they're going to need filled this season. I think the draft's going to be pretty crucial to them getting back and trying for another Super Bowl.
Baltimore, especially, me and Pete Smith were talking about it at Senior World Practice last week. They got a lot of guys that are unrestricted free agents that won't be back next year probably. So we'll see. In Detroit, they got to get some corners here pretty quick because that's brutal.
A lot of that defense needs retooled a bit.
That's a fact. All right, let's look at the NFL head coaching and GM overhaul here. We'll just go through it, and at the end here, you tell me which one you're most excited about. But the Chargers hiring Jim Harbaugh away from – I mean, that alone probably has you excited that Jim Harbaugh is no longer the head coach at Michigan. But the Chargers hire him as well as Ravens assistant GM Joe Ortiz to run that show as general manager. We have the Raiders hiring Antonio Pierce, or taking the interim tag off, pairing him up with former Chargers GM Tom Telesco. The Patriots promoting Gerard Mayo as head coach, and I guess Elliott Wolf is going to be maybe not the GM title, but making personnel decisions seems to be the word on the street. Titans hired Bengals offense coordinator Brian Callahan. Panthers hiring Dave Canales, the OC from Tampa Bay, and pairing him with Dan Morgan to be the GM, former Panthers linebacker. Falcons hiring Raheem Morris, the DC from the Rams. Seahawks hiring Ravens defense coordinator Mike McDonald, which also good for us. Get him the hell out of there. And the Commanders, we're definitely going to talk about this one a little bit more with Jimmy, but hiring Dan Quinn, the Cowboys DC, to go along with assistant GM for the 49ers, Adam Peters. So looking at it, Shane, what are you most excited about here, and which one is kind of
I'm excited about the Falcons, actually. Usually the head coach for a second time usually isn't too sexy. I think Raheem Morris has done his job these past couple years, built a good defense. I love the staff that he's putting together with Zach Robinson coming over, quarterback that I know both of us scouted back in the day, which is always weird. And coming over from the Sean McVay system, bringing that to Atlanta, who has some weapons. Like I'm kind of excited for that. It's a division that's winnable. I think the team could be in really good shape. So that's probably my favorite with the Seahawks. We'll see who their OC is, but with Mike McDonald and the Seahawks, I think it's a really nice fit. I mean, a couple more ones. We'll talk about the Commanders. I think the Raiders, Antonio Pierce deserves it. I don't think this is going to be a long-lasting thing. I think it's just so tough. It's one thing that in season motivate the players. Can Antonio Pierce be a head coach for this full off season? I think that's the question. I hope he succeeds. But that's probably the one I knew was going to happen, but I just don't see it working out.
Let's go hiring was kind of the head scratcher for me.
Yeah, right. That too.
But yeah,
I think it's interesting, but the Chargers are in a rough spot. I think it's going to be a worse spot than it seems.
Yeah. Quickly, Arthur Smith, the new OC of your Steelers. This cannot. I mean, this is probably not going over well in the Hallam household.
Well, I mean, look, if you get the Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, maybe, but the Steelers you finally have a chance to get a young offensive coordinator with a creative mind. Right, we saw Bobby Slowick, what he did with Houston. Gonna hire Gerard Johnson, and you just go with the retread head coach, run the football. I mean, come on, Arthur Smith has not shown that he can develop a young quarterback. So I hope the Steelers make some move at quarterback, because I don't think Kenny Pickett's going anywhere with Arthur Smith as the OC.
I don't know what the prop is on what team's gonna land Justin Fields. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers get in on this.
Mike Tomlin liked him a lot as a prospect.
I know.
For sure.
That's kind of where I'm at, and
I hope so. Or we're just gonna end up with Ryan Tannehill. Let's be honest. That's gonna be
jeez.
They're back with Arthur Smith.
I got to tell you, as a fan of a team in that division, I'm good with that. I am good with that. All right. So we're done with that conversation here, and we're moving on to another one, and that's going to bring in our guest tonight. He is the assistant director of scouting for the Hula Bowl, and he's a contributor at Draft Diamonds. Good friend of the show, good friend of mine. It is draft guy Jimmy Williams on to the show tonight, man. How are you, Jimmy? Jimmy, I think you're muted there, buddy.
Yeah, maybe something's not coming through audio-wise for you, Jimmy. No, you'll have to check. You'll have to check the audio settings, perhaps. We got the boot. Let him try again here. Brian Lamb in the chat can lip read, so we can
Well,
Get the
obviously that's what we might need here.
That's it.
So anyway, we'll talk about the coaches. Maybe anything else we got here on that subject.
No, I think it was
Steelers fantasy.
I mean, look, was there really anyone you wanted to fantasy anyway from the Steelers? I don't think that was the case. No, I think it was a little uninspiring cycle. We saw maybe some of the hotter names, offensive coordinators, go back, get a big pay raise, and go back. So I think next cycle we'll probably see, some better hires. It wouldn't surprise me if we have multiple one and dones from this group. If there are some better names that are available coming up in the future.
Jimmy, are you available now?
Anything? No.
Nope. Technical difficulties for Jimmy, it appears, tonight. So,
that's all right.
Are you there, Jimmy? No, Jimmy. I repeat, no, Jimmy. All right. This is not going well at all here.
That's fine. I'll hit him in the private chat here, Jimmy, and see if we can figure it out. So we can hit something else. Brian can talk about the Senior Bowl for the 20th day in a row.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that right quick. Shane, I want to touch on something with you that I talked about in my article the other day about maybe the future of the Senior Bowl and where it's headed. And I am not feeling great. We talked about it. I talked about it last year that it's like 35 players from the start of the practice week last year to the game opted out. This year, the number was 39, with another 10 plus guys that I counted opted out in the first half of the game. So we're looking at probably 50 players that started the week of practice did not play the entirety of the game. I don't know how you fix it. I mean, my thought is it's like you have to invite the best players, right? Or then the Senior Bowl is not the Senior Bowl. You got to have these guys play the entire week, right? So what is like Nagy said in a radio interview the other day that he intentionally over-invited this year to kind of offset what he knew was going to happen. And then it got worse. Like the national team only had 3 interior defensive linemen heading into the day of the game, to the point they had to bring Braden Fisk over from the American team to play. The national team also only had 3 wide receivers active on game day. Luke McCaffrey, Tez Walker, and Javon Baker had to go the distance the whole game. They were the only 3 wide receivers. So is the solution just invite 150 players? Well, then you're cutting into practice, right? You're not getting enough reps for those guys. I don't know what the solution is.
I think it's tough. I think the over inviting has to happen, but like you said, we saw it this year and still wasn't enough. I wonder if agents, they probably might not be down for this, but I wonder if you can invite even more, but kind of have a almost 20 to 30 guys that are kind of the B squad, essentially, that aren't getting as many practice reps, right? That aren't taking practice reps away from the top, that are kind of there for day 3 game. Like that's when you're going to shine. You're going to learn the system through the week still, even if you're not getting the reps. I don't know if agents be down for that. Like I'd rather go the shrine, right? Might be the case. And I think still having those overlap is part of the issue, where it would be a lot easier to maybe overindulge, where guys that were at the shrine, or at the Hula Bowl that you could bring up and really have them for later in the week. But yeah, I don't know if there's a good solution for it. You mentioned in your article the CGS, they didn't even have a game, right? I mean, that's Is that where we're headed?
The thing with that is, though, and I mentioned it in an article, is I know the business of the Senior Bowl better than I think any of the other media that come to this game, just because I follow it so closely and I'm from here. I know the people in charge of the Senior Bowl, the Mobile Arts and Sports Association. They're not paying millions of dollars a year to bring all these players in, to put them up, do all these without getting the game at the end. That is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for these guys. So if you take the game away, what they have no incentive to do this anymore. So the game is done. And I don't know if it's different with the Shrine Bowl, because the Shrine Bowl is essentially, and I'm not, and what I'm about to say is not disparaging on that organization whatsoever, but the Shrine Bowl essentially ends up being the big party, I guess, for the Shriners, almost like a convention, if you will. So they're going to have that. Like, you could do away with the Shrine game itself, still have the practices. The Shriners are okay. That's just their gig, right? That's not the case in Mobile. The game dies without a game. Like the event itself, the Senior Bowl itself dies if there's no game at the end of the week. In my opinion, I'd like to think I was wrong, but I don't think I am.
Yeah, I mean, then are they happy with the quality of the game? Then, like,
there seems to be no complaints.
They don't care. Like, yeah,
I don't think it's more of a Senior Bowl. The staff of the Senior Bowl itself, like, I don't think Jim Nagy's happy with what's happening, as he's already, like he said, he seemed to have been making plans for this. And then I'm not going to go into other things that may have happened this week, but he seems to be taking it hard, and I get it. I hate it too. It sucks for me, but as well.
My thing would be, why is he taking it hard if the Senior Bowl backers don't care? The NFL clearly doesn't care. So
yeah, the NFL's not
like, neither of those characters didn't care either. Like, who cares?
Yeah. So
you want to give Jimmy another try?
Let's give Jimmy another try. Jimmy, how about it?
See. Man.
It might not happen.
We'll have to pop him back in another week. We can have him come before the show and test it out and troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah. So, so while I'm thinking, so that was wrapping up the Senior Bowl. The game itself, like I said, I talked about, was low scoring, I guess, to put it mildly. There, not a whole lot of offensive excitement. The quarterback play outside of Spencer Rattler was completely awful. The offensive line play was obviously much better than it was in years past. There were some big holes getting opened up. I was also wondering why Amani Bailey was getting so much play. And then I realized him and Cody Schrader were the only two American team running backs.
Right.
So
right.
That I figured that out. I was like, what the hell happened to Michael Wiley? I mean, he wasn't even out there. I was like, Dejon Edwards was gone. I was like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, at least you got to see Bailey and Schrader, I guess, come out. But it shows you why the game doesn't matter as much, not just the opt-outs, but, we were talking before the show even, Chal Smith-Wade has 2 interceptions, great defensive game, wasn't very good through the week. Like, other than Spencer Rattler, that wasn't really reflective, I think, of how good
the player that I thought had a great game that allowed him to shine was Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker from Mississippi State. I thought the game itself was more indicative of his play. Jimmy. Uh-oh. Oh, we got some reverb. Oh, no. And I still can't hear you.
Yeah, hold on. That's let me kick this out. All right, that should be good. Jimmy, how's it going, man?
Hello. All
Yeah,
right. There he is.
The phone,
All
the phone worked.
Give me a second.
No worries.
Okay, here we go. Now I can hear you guys.
Here we
All right,
go.
perfect.
All right.
Sorry, I had to get on this thing with my phone, man. Like,
No, it's fine.
I got a new computer, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm completely clueless. So,
All right.
sorry, I'm not that tech savvy.
I'll say this. I had the same issue when I bought a new mic. So it's going to be something in your Windows settings that you're going to have to dig into.
Dude, it's going to take me a while, but it's okay. Let's go ahead and talk.
All right. So, Jimmy, first of all, I want to tell you and the rest of the Hula Bowl team, congrats on the best roster that I think y'all have put together since y'all took over the game. Hell of a job this year. What was the final number of call-ups between the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl?
Dude, honestly, I can't remember. I want to say it's like 47, 48, something like that. Like it's a really big number. I'd have to check it out, but I mean, we were blessed to have a great scouting staff of just guys that could go out, scout talent. We were able to do a bunch of write-ups this year, visit a whole bunch of games. It's been fun. So yeah, obviously, dude, I appreciate the kudos, but the kudos goes to the team as a whole, man. I love those guys. They were able to really put together some awesome talent.
See, like now Brian has himself muted. He's just trying to be a Jimmy over there. He's trying to mimic you.
My final count I had was over 25% of the Shrine Bowl roster was guys that was at your game.
That's about right. I think they had like 38.
It was 41.
There you go. I couldn't keep count, honestly.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Shane, you got anything?
Yeah, so Jimmy, I you talked about the staff and how good they were. Like I said, I think the Hula Bowl this year did phenomenally. Can you tell me kind of about the scouting process a bit? Walk through it. I think it's got to be difficult knowing obviously a lot of the top talent going to opt for Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl. Do you invite those guys anyway? Take a shot. How do you kind of decide who to extend invites to?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, here's the scoop. I mean, obviously, we kind of realize our situation, right? I mean, everybody kind of, believes that the Senior and Shrine, they're like the top dogs, but we didn't approach it like that this year. We thought that we had just as good a shot as any to get guys. I mean, we took hold of it this year, man. We invited guys that, ended up at the Senior, ended up at the Shrine. Like, we have to go through the process, which it is a painful process. Let's just be real. I mean, we pretty much invited like the entire roster of the Shrine and half of the Senior before they ultimately decided to go with the latter. Yeah, you do have to kind of find your spot where you're going to find some guys, but I believe we had a great roster overall.
So with that being said, like when y'all are stacking your board, like y'all's board has to be huge, right? Because going in that y'all are going to get just pillaged, right? So that going in, so you have to stack that board pretty deep, right?
Well, the way that we did it this year, and I think a lot of other events have also done this in the past, is we have to get together with leadership and figure out, okay, let's just go ahead and mock the Senior Bowl. Like if I was a Senior Bowl, who would I bring in? And so we did a mock of that. We did a mock of the Shrine Bowl. And so it's like, okay, if I was a Shrine, this is what I would do. And so again, after that, then we go ahead and start our board. Well, as the process unfolds, Shrine's not taking guys who I believe they should be taking. And so I figured, hey, let me go ahead and invite guys like Frank Crum, who really should be there. It wasn't even there, who I thought really could have been. But we just decided to, hey, if they're not going to take them, we're just going to take them. we're very aggressive this year in our approach to our roster.
And I think you could tell because it paid off. So once again, kudos to you for that. I actually wrote up about Frank Crum today in my article. Phenomenal from what I saw. Look, like your draft diamonds as well. Small school players is definitely your forte. A lot of great small school players that were at the Hula Bowl. Can you give me a couple names that really impressed you through the week? You think really have an NFL shot?
Oh gosh, man, a ton of them. Obviously, yes, that is our kind of bread and butter. Christian Boyd, I want to let people know, Christian Boyd, I was on top of that guy at the beginning of the year. He's doing well. I think a lot of people, when they looked at him, they didn't see him as a guy with like ideal measurables. And so they kind of, wrote him off from the get-go. But talk about a guy with, great strength, good bull rush, with just some tenacity to get after it. Love that guy. A lot of other small school guys as well. Hayden Hatton we brought in, a very trusty receiver there out of Idaho. But some of the guys who I feel were kind of under the radar from the get really shined. Mason Pline, at Furman, that guy really shocked me. I mean, I was a doubter at first, and I want to be open about that because he only had 1 year, 1 year where, he was out there because he was mainly a basketball player. So, yeah, I mean, guys like Mason Pline just continue to move up and up and up. I mean, he got an opportunity at the Shrine as well. I was watching the Shrine, and he had obviously, gone down with an injury, but he should still be very high up on people's radar. What's his name? David White. David White is a freak of a wide receiver. Definitely a guy who should be on everyone's radar as a possible late round draft pick for sure. Guys like him, he's just going to get looks, throughout this process, and he could wind up getting drafted.
All right, Jimmy, I know you don't like being put on the spot, but I'm going to do it anyway.
No, it's all good.
Who's the highest drafted player from your game?
A couple of guys that I really like. We had Carlton Johnson. Carlton Johnson, I will say, a lot of people like him. Very fast guy who we had at our game. And he ended up getting an opportunity at the Senior Bowl. Could very well be our first guy off the board. I liked Eric Watts as well. I thought Eric Watts was just he checked so many boxes. Didn't have the production this year that he did in the previous season, but he checks so many boxes. The length is there. The get off is there. I mean, it's going to be tough to decide who's going to be our first guy. Last year we kind of got shocked a little bit because we had, Sean Clifford taken in, I think like the 5th round, that no one thought he was getting drafted. And I think that's going to happen this year. Maybe them, Jalen Coker. I'm going to just say that Jalen Coker is phenomenal. If you've never seen Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross, he could be our first guy drafted. I mean, he's been doing great. I mean, I don't have any complaints about him at all. He really could have run with this thing. I mean, he had 1 more year of eligibility, could have transferred to a Power 5 school, decided, hey, you know what? I'm ready for this thing. I'm declaring I'm gone. I'm going to make it in the NFL. He's going to get drafted. I know that right now.
I know Shane's a big fan of Jalen Coker. Talked him up a lot, and Carlton Johnson. I think you're right on there with him. Gets the call up to the Senior Bowl, and I think Jim Nagy tweeted it earlier today. Since they put the GPS tracking at the Senior Bowl, Carlton Johnson's second fastest time ever recorded in a Senior Bowl practice, behind only Tariq Woolen from a couple of seasons ago. So he did get a combine invite too, if I'm not mistaken. So he goes in and runs in the 4.2s like Woolen did. He's probably going to get drafted, probably pretty early on day 3, I think. And he had I thought he got better as the week went on at Senior Bowl practice as well. Before we get on with the talk about the Commanders, Shane, you got anything Hula Bowl related?
No, I just want to ask how you see the future going, Jimmy, for the Hula Bowl in the next upcoming years. What's your goal? Just kind of keep things going, or do you guys have kind of some lofty goals out there?
We do have lofty goals. We want to be able to go back to where we were at one point or in time. Like the Hula Bowl was the premier game. It is the second oldest All-Star game. People forget that it is the second oldest All-Star game to the Shrine. We've had Hall of Famers come in through the Hula Bowl, and we want to continue that trend. This year, we see such an increase this year. I think we had like 6 guys drafted last year. And we feel that we had a good enough roster for us to get maybe 20 guys drafted. And we want to continue that upward trend and hopefully maybe even next year compete with some of these, bigger bowl games.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we move on to the last thing, and I know this has absolutely nothing to do with you, but would you please pass this note along to the higher ups at the Hula Bowl? Everybody else, even the Tropical Bowl, is releasing practice film, man. Y'all got to get on that. We got to get that practice film.
Well, all I can say, Brian, is you need to come by. You can get credentials and you can come. We had a lot of great people who came out to our practices, man. A lot of execs ended up coming there as well. I try to take a few clips of video here and there. But it's hard, man. Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying. You're not alone.
Jimmy, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if y'all ain't moving that game to Pensacola, I ain't coming. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. All right, let's move on to the Commanders now. You're obviously, we see in the background there, that's your team, man. Dan Quinn's your new head coach.
Yep.
Talk to me.
I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to trust the process. I've been a fan through thick and thin. And I don't know if we really made our situation better with that head coaching job, other than the fact that we've just brought somebody in who's willing to work. And maybe that's truly all we need. I don't know if the head coaching gets better with Quinn. I mean, I will say that I'm probably more excited about our OC than our head coach, if you understand where I'm getting. It's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen offensively. Sam Howell is probably our next question, I suppose, is what in the world are you going to do with him? Like, is he your guy going forward? I don't know. I think, you bring in, Cliff and, all of that. And I guess the question is as well, who do you take? Do you take, Caleb Williams? You take, one of these other guys, Jaden Daniels, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm of the mindset of that you kind of need to build from the inside out on a team. That's how I am.
Like, it's fair, but tough. You don't know when that number 2 pick's coming again. That's always tough.
Well, we haven't had success with that number 2 pick, so I'll just leave it at that. It brings back bad memories of 2012 having that number 2 pick. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, that's fair. Do you buy to the whole, Ben Johnson was kind of the guy deal? Like, is Dan Quinn kind of lower on the list? And do you think that might be an issue moving forward?
Buddy, I don't know. I don't want to speculate anything. It is possible. I think part of the problem is you have an organization for a while that teams didn't want to play for. And so it makes it difficult to get stuff together, make things exciting for the fans, make them want to buy merch and go to games and stuff. So that's really what it's about. Obviously, is putting butts in seats and really winning some games. Obviously, if you do that, they'll certainly help things along. I don't know about the scaring away guys sort of thing. What's been going along with Johnson. Maybe he didn't want to be here. I don't know. I think that things are solid. I just don't know at the head coaching spot, like if it's really gotten better. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of other people would agree that it's stable, and that's really all we can ask for right now.
That's fair. But to go back to what you said, Sam Howell is not going to be the starting quarterback next year. That's over. I think we can move on from that. If you were picking fifth or whatever, Sam Howell's still got a puncher's chance here, but now that's not happening. The question now becomes, you stand pat at 2 and take either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And so then we'll make this a 2-part question. Which of those quarterbacks do you think is the better fit in the Cliff Kingsbury scheme that's coming? And the other part is, if it's neither, are you willing to give up the massive amount of picks it's going to take to go from 2 to 1 to draft Caleb Williams?
First of all, I don't want to trade picks to trade up. I'm going to be blunt with that. There's no way. Yeah, I see in the chat. Sorry. Love you, Louise. Anyways, I do not want to trade up one damn spot. I'm sorry, that's not me. That's crazy talk. You still have the option. You got the second pick in the draft. Second pick in the draft, you have the opportunity still to get a game changer. Just get the game changer, whoever that's going to be. I think the guy who fits the scheme, if Caleb Williams isn't on the table, is Daniels, actually. Mainly because of our new OC. Now, of course, obviously, if Caleb Williams is on the table, we do end up taking him more than likely. But Daniels is very athletic, and I think a lot of fans are going to have this. Oh, I don't know. They're going to remember the RG3 thing again. And the biggest question is, okay, well, he's athletic, he can make plays, but got to keep him upright, got to keep him healthy. And so if that's how they're going to go in the first round, then the rest of those picks are going to have to help him out. So that's kind of my take on that. So I don't think that we get much better with Drake May, if you understand my meaning. I mean, a little bit, but I don't think that it would fit what we truly need. So, because we need a game changer, man.
It's fair. Look, I don't have another question, but I do appreciate the Lion-O Thundercats figure behind you.
Oh, yeah, man. I like to collect. We go to toy conventions occasionally. So picked that up a while back ago. I got some other things there around here, too. I'm a big Back to the Future nerd. So had to get the license plate in the background, too. So.
Oh, nice. Look, I saw the musical in London. Pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make it.
Jimmy's got about as much chance of seeing the Back to the Future musical in London as I have of going to.
It's in New York now, a little closer.
Oh, come on, man. Love you too, Brian. So
let's be honest, Jimmy. We've talked about it privately. If I'm going to Orlando, I'm not going to the Hula Bowl.
Well, we can make a trip of it, man.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have been getting, and again, when I say we, I mean the Hula Bowl, is some people have been knocking the Hula Bowl name because it's now in Florida. And we get that question all the time. Well, why don't you change the name? The name ain't changing, man. It's the Hula Bowl. We don't want to erase that history.
It should.
You know, yeah, I mean, I kind of get your opinion on that, but we just don't want to erase some of the history that's behind that. We still have a good relationship with, you know, we love highlighting the Polynesians who come to our game. That's really an awesome thing. I mean, it's a part of history that we just don't want to. We want to continue, and so that's kind of where that is. Obviously, it's in Florida. We love it in Florida. Logistically, Florida makes so much sense. We get so many more scouts, and it's just better overall. So it's probably not going back to Hawaii anytime soon, even though occasionally I get the question, hey, is it going back to Hawaii? Probably not.
Logistically speaking and financially speaking, I don't think your game can operate in Hawaii anymore.
No,
just the sheer cost of getting 130 players to Honolulu is probably blows your budget out of the water. If I'm just
no, you're spot on that one. I think one of the reasons why we bumped it up to like 130 this year is with all the opt-outs that happened. You know, whenever things first started coming down, I mean, the you know, director of scouting is Damon Talbot. He and I, you know, talk to each other all the time, and so our conversation was, well, we got to have some contingency, and so we have to have, you know, enough guys so that we can put together a game. And so we wanted to make sure that we had enough offensive linemen, enough defensive linemen, because that's where we were hurting the most the previous season. Didn't want to be in that boat again. And so we were able to put together a roster with like an additional, oh goodness, it was like 15 more players or something like that, so that we, you know, could get things done. Still ended up adding guys, but mainly due to injury, which is, you know, it happens each and every year. Yeah, I mean, we were able to get it done. Felt that everything went successful. So,
yeah, no doubt. Great game this year. Enjoyed watching it. Enjoyed keeping up with it. Like I said, the roster I think was definitely in since you guys have been in charge of the game for sure. It's probably the best roster the game's had since it came back a few years ago. So congrats again to all of the staff and the scouting staff. You mentioned Damon and the Draft Diamonds crew and yourself and Luis, who popped in the chat earlier. You guys did a great job. Jimmy, thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for talking about the Hula Bowl and the Commanders. And like I said, we'll stay in touch and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, and maybe hopefully next time we'll get the
figure
technical
that stuff out,
things taken care of. So, but love the fact that I was able to pop on. Had to do it obviously with my phone, so it's a little cockeyed, but it is how it is.
Hey man, we do with what we can do. Thanks for coming on, Jimmy.
Exactly.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, you too now.
Yep. Follow Jimmy on Twitter at Draft Guy Jimmy if you're not already doing that. He's a great guy, and the Hula Bowl, like I said, great game this year for those guys. So, yep. Overall, like I said, I think I didn't bring it up, but I think a great, maybe not the main reason for obviously their job they did, but the dissolving of the NFLPA game this year certainly helped not only them, but the Shrine as well. And that also was another reason I think the rosters were able to expand for all three games as much as it was, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And but look, last year we talked about it. I think the Hula Bowl rivaled the NFLPA game last year. And I think this year, like Jimmy mentioned, I don't think he was incorrect, despite obviously having a biased stance. I think the Shrine missed on some guys that the Hula Bowl got, and that was pretty obvious when they're calling, you know, how many up, right?
Just the number of the roster up. Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, so like I said, great job by them guys. And dude, I'd love to go to the Hula Bowl. Like I said, if I'm in Orlando, Shane, am I going to the Hula Bowl?
Well, no. Look, you know,
I'm
you're
going to Disney, man.
I feel like you could do both. I feel like you could maybe manage it. You know,
no, I'd be at Hula Bowl practice, jealous of my wife, who'd be at Disney.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No, huge Polynesian. My favorite place to stay in Orlando is Polynesian themed, if we're going to be honest.
Look, we already started the Disney fund for our 6-month-old. We're planning 5 years down the line here. So.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to hear about it. All right. So we were going to touch on it really quick, and I'll let you dove into the game and the practice film a lot more than I have. Shrine Bowl, like I said, we mentioned 25% of the roster came up from the Hula Bowl, had a lot of injury opt-outs for some of their upper tier guys. But anyway, overall thoughts on the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, look, I think it was watching some of the practice film. I think it was interesting. Definitely some standout players, similar to the Senior Bowl. It was like a lot of the receivers looked good. Malik Washington out of Virginia was a definite standout. There, Taj Washington out of Southern Cal, I think was really good. So that kind of similarity for having one-on-one practices and that kind of deal worked out. But even guys that we saw, at the Hula Bowl, Christian Boyd, who Jimmy mentioned from Northern Iowa, I thought he was one of the best defensive linemen at Shrine practices. One guy that Brad Menendez tweeted out about was Renardo Green, the corner safety from Florida State. Physical, really good. So, I feel like for the Shrine as a whole, it was definitely a weaker group than I wanted, especially with a lot of the big names not practicing and not playing. But overall, I think it was definitely more players kind of helping themselves. And then I think you get to kind of the big players, your guy, Frank Gore Jr., who you supported, right? A huge game for him. He clearly was the cream of the crop at that game. And then Jarius Monroe out of Tulane was the defensive MVP of the corner, who I was pretty impressed with through the week as well. So, game-wise, the game, just like the Senior Bowl, means a little bit less. But I think Gore and Monroe both were good throughout the week and had a big game.
Yeah, Gore 6 carries, 87 yards, and a 49-yard touchdown run, all in the first half. Don't know they played in the second half at all. I haven't watched the game copy yet. So, but yeah, I love Frank Gore, and I'm unapologetic in that. Wish he was a little bigger, but
Yep.
Nothing you can do about that. Yep. All right. Last thing before we go here, Shane, I know you got another endeavor this evening, so we're going to try to cut this one a little short. But Super Bowl is Sunday. And we did this last year, Shane, and you nailed it, man. What was the number on the what was the number you got on the Rihanna song "Bitch Better Have My Money" is her opening song there? What was the odds you got on that?
I bet it early, so I think I got like plus 400, plus 500 when I bet early, and then by game time was like minus 300. So
yeah,
that's when you know you're doing good.
Yep. So what are your favorite Super Bowl props this year?
Well, I'm going song again. Usher, we have Usher in the halftime show. My song choice right now is "My Way." I think is for the opening song of the halftime show. I think there's a couple options here. I'm not. You and I were talking about before the show. I don't know Usher as well as I did Rihanna last year. So, but My Way is probably the one that I'm betting on, and still has some plus odds and some spots. So, is pretty decent in terms of the game itself. I've definitely bet heavily on the Chiefs. I'm actually betting on a big Rashee Rice game. Guy you saw at the Senior Bowl last year. I think 49ers kind of take out Travis Kelce. So I bet Rashee Rice anytime touchdown. I'm getting up on that. And maybe I'll put a little bit on first touchdown of the game too. Is pretty good. And then if you want a long shot bet, I'm going to go with a player to score the octopus in this game.
I don't know.
Do you know what that is? You know what that is, Brian?
I don't know what that is.
The octopus is when a player scores a touchdown and scores the 2-point conversion after it.
Ah. That's got to be long odds, right?
Yeah, you get like plus 1,200 on a player getting the octopus.
I don't even know what the juice is on this one. I have no idea. I haven't looked at a single bet for this game, but I would bet George Kittle anytime touchdown.
Oh, that's decent. You know, the anytime touchdowns, they really like crank it down so you don't win a ton, but Kittle's not bad. I mean, there's no reason to bet on like McCaffrey or Kelsey.
No, you're not getting no juice on that. I know it's out there. Have you seen a prop on over under how many times they show Taylor Swift?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think whatever it is, I'm probably going to take the under because I know I feel like the hype of how much they show her is much bigger than the reality, and so. Plus, with the trip from Japan straight there, you know, is she definitely going to be visible? I don't know, you know. So I think I'll take the under.
I'll tell you, I like for the first time ever, and I know this goes against everything we've ever talked about. I like the under on the national anthem.
Really?
Yes. Reba McEntire singing the national anthem. As a man who had to listen to a lot of Reba McEntire when I was young, because my mother listened to country music a lot. I think Reba McEntire is going to hammer this thing through, man. I think we're getting the under for the first time in like a decade and a half on the national anthem.
I think we had it last year. It was like the first time in a while. I think it was last year, 2 years ago. But yeah, it's been over, I think 9 out of the last 10 Super Bowls. I mean, it's pumped up to 90 seconds, which is minute 30 is a little bit lengthy. So if she does hammer it out, like it'll hit the under for sure.
Jimmy thinks we need to bet the over the total on the game.
I always feel that way, but I always feel like the Super Bowl 2 weeks off always starts a little sloppy on offense, you know. But it still could definitely happen for sure with these offenses. So not opposed to that one.
All right. Final prediction here. Who wins? What's the score?
I think the Chiefs are going to win by a touchdown. I will go with 27-20.
I'm going to go San Francisco 24-20. Give me the 49ers this week.
I can't see the 49ers winning.
I can't pick Kansas City on principle.
What a principle! Hey, this isn't the Steelers or the Ravens here, you know.
The Chiefs and all that just from last year. It's bad taste in my mouth, man. Can't do it.
They're good. Can't do it. That's the issue. They're good.
F them guys.
Like here's the thing. You should just probably bet on the best quarterback in the NFL. Like that's usually the best.
That's fair. I spent 5 minutes on a show in Melbourne, Florida, the other day, trashing Brock Purdy. So yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. All right, we got no questions in the chat. You had some questions a few weeks ago I completely forgot about. We're gonna get those next week.
Yeah.
Remember that. Remind me of that next week. I don't remember the cat's name, but remind me.
Cliff, my man Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff. Cliff has some great questions, and we're running out of time tonight. So we'll definitely. We don't have much planned for next week, so we'll definitely get those in next week. All right. Final thoughts as we wrap it up. Super Bowl coming up. All-Star game. Major All-Star games are over. There's still one more left. The HBC Legacy Bowl, and I think that's next weekend. We'll talk about that then, or maybe after it's over. We'll see. But I had I surprised you, Shane. 3-round mock draft I put up on Monday.
Yes, you did.
Way out of my comfort zone, but went 3 rounds. Wanted to get some with Senior Bowl fresh in my mind. I want to get some of those names that I thought might rise into that day 3 area. I want to get a thought on the fit that I had. I had just on principle because I know we've got a little wager on this. I have Spencer Rattler going day 2. The fit him to the Rams in the 3rd round.
It's good. I mean, he's not going to go in the 3rd round. But other than that, I do like the fit. I mean, I think Rattler fits fits the McVay offense well. And with a year of development behind Matthew Stafford, I think it's an ideal situation for him. So I do.
And that's kind of where I was at when I had that there. He's going in the third round, Shane. Just accept and deal with it. Final thoughts for you going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Super Bowl's always fun. It's the first time I've been able to get my wife to watch the Super Bowl, so it's I'm happy the Chiefs made it because it's gonna make for a fun night. And then I'll have a 7-round mock draft coming out the day after, reflecting that Super Bowl victory. And
with the draft order finally set,
which is a blessing. All we need is the comp pick set. And I like because all the guys that Jimmy mentioned are in my mock, plan to be in my mock. So I'm like, all right, feeling good.
Love it. All right. That's going to do it for tonight's edition of the Draft Countdown podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. Follow Shane on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. Follow Jimmy on Twitter at Draft Guy Jimmy. Follow Draft Countdown on Twitter at Draft Countdown. And go to draftcountdown.com for all of your NFL draft needs. For Shane, I'm Brian. Good night, everybody.